There are certain fate and coincidence that are really difficult to believe, they are unbelievable coincidences that seem too strange to be true. From surviving 2 atomic bombs to a wrong turn sparking a world war, these jaw-dropping stories will leave you questioning fate itself. Hey everyone, welcome back to Weird and Bizarre History, and today we're diving into 11 bizarre coincidence and fate that you will not believe. If you love uncovering hidden history, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. 1. Tsuto Yamaguchi's double atomic survival. In August 1945, a 29-year-old Japanese engineer named Tsuto Yamaguchi was on a business trip to Hiroshima. On the morning of August 6, he was walking to the shipyards when he noticed an American bomber flying overhead. Suddenly, at 8:15 a.m. a bright flash lit up the sky. The first atomic bomb had gone off about 1.9 miles from where he stood. The blast knocked Yamaguchi to the ground, damaged his earring, and badly burned the left side of his body. Despite his injuries, he found shelter, spent the night in the ruined city, and made his way to the train station the next day. Yamaguchi was heading home to Nagasaki on August 9. Still wrapped in bandages and in pain, Yamaguchi went to work in Nagasaki. As he was telling his boss what had happened in Hiroshima, another bright flash lit up the sky. The second atomic bomb had just been dropped over Nagasaki, and again, Yamaguchi was about 1.9 miles from the blast. The building he was in probably saved him from more serious injuries, though he was exposed to radiation from both bombs. Yamaguchi is the only person the Japanese government officially recognizes as having survived both atomic bombings. Even after being exposed to radiation twice, he recovered and lived until he was 93, dying in 2010 from stomach cancer. 2. Archduke Ferdinand's assassin and the wrong turn. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, visited Sarajevo with his wife Sophie. A group of Serbian nationalists had planned to kill him that day, and their first attempt failed when a member of the group threw a bomb at the Archduke's car, but it bounced off and exploded behind it, injuring people in the one behind. After that attack failed, the motorcade continued to the town hall for a planned meeting. The assassination plot seemed to have failed, and one of the would-be killers, a 19-year-old named Gabrielo Princip, gave up and went to a small food shop on Franz Josef Street to get something to eat. Then something crazy happened. After leaving the town hall, the Archduke decided to visit those hurt by the earlier bomb. His driver, not knowing Sarajevo well, took a wrong turn onto Franz Josef Street. When the driver realized his mistake, he stopped the car to turn around, right in front of the shop where Princip was standing. Princip couldn't believe his luck. The target he had given up on was now just feet away and not moving. He pulled out his gun, stepped forward, and fired twice, hitting the Archduke in the neck and his wife Sophie in the stomach. Both died within minutes. This started a chain of events that led straight to World War I. Soon, all of Europe was pulled into the conflict that claimed over 20 million lives. A single wrong turn changed the course of the entire 20th century. 3. King Umberto and his doppelganger. In late July 1900, King Umberto I of Italy decided to eat at a small restaurant in Monza. When the restaurant owner came to serve him, both men were shocked. The owner looked exactly like the king, so much so that they could have been twins. As they talked, they discovered even more strange connections. They learned they had been born on the same day in the same year in the same town. They were both named Umberto. The restaurant owner had married a woman named Margherita, the same name as King Alberto's queen. Both men even had sons named Torrio. The king was amazed by all these similarities and invited the restaurant owner to an event the next day. But on July 29, 1900, the restaurant owner was killed in a shooting accident. That very same evening, King Umberto I was told about his double's death. Just hours later, while attending a public event, the king himself was shot and killed by an anarchist named Gaetano Bresci. 4. Robertson's Titanic prediction. In 1898, 14 years before the Titanic disaster, an American author named Morgan Robertson wrote a story called Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan. This story was about a huge luxury ship called the Titan that sank after hitting an iceberg in the North Atlantic. The similarities between Robertson's fictional story and the real Titanic tragedy that happened in April 1912 are incredible. Robertson's Titan was described as the largest ship of its day at about 800 feet long, very close to the Titanic's 882 feet. Both ships had 3 propellers and could go very fast. The made-up Titan could travel at 25 knots, while the real Titanic was moving at about 22.5 knots when it hit the iceberg. Both ships were called unsinkable, and both had too few lifeboats for everyone on board. Robertson's book even mentioned that the Titan carried as few boats as the law required, which sadly matched the Titanic's situation. Both ships hit an iceberg on the right side while sailing through the North Atlantic in April, and both sank with a huge loss of life. After the real Titanic sank in 1912, Robertson's book became famous again. Many people thought he had somehow predicted the future, but the more likely explanation is that Robertson, as a former sailor, he likely knew about ship safety problems and shipping trends of his time. 5. The Eben brothers' identical deaths. In July 1974, 17-year-old Neville Eben was riding his moped along a street when he was hit and killed by a taxi in Hamilton, Bermuda. Almost exactly 1 year later, in July 1975, an even more unbelievable tragedy hit the same family. Neville's brother, Ayres Ken Eben, also 17 years old at the time, was riding the very same moped along the same street in Hamilton when he was hit by a taxi and killed, but not just any taxi, it was the exact same taxi with the same driver that had killed his brother the year before. Even more surprisingly, the taxi was carrying the same passenger who had been in the vehicle during the first accident. 6. Mark Twain and Comet. Mark Twain was born on November 30, 1835, the same night that comet was passing by Earth. The famous comet passes by Earth roughly once every 76 years. Throughout his life, Twain was interested in this link to the comet. As he grew older and the comet's return got closer, he began to feel a special connection between his life and the comet. In 1909, when he was 74 years old, Twain made an eerie prediction about his own death. "I came in with comet in 1835, Twain said, "it is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it." Twain's prediction came true. On April 21, 1910, Mark Twain died of a heart attack at his home in Connecticut. This was just one day after his comet reached its closest point to the Sun on that visit, becoming visible from Earth once again. The comet appeared most recently in 1986 and is scheduled to appear again in 2061. 7. The three lightning strikes on one family. In 1899, in a small town near Taranto in southern Italy, a terrible accident happened. A man named Rollo Primarda was standing in the backyard of his family home during a storm when he was suddenly struck by lightning and killed. About 30 years later, around 1929, lightning struck Rollo's son when he was standing in the same spot in the family's backyard during a storm, just like his father before him. He died instantly. The family and neighbors were shocked by this incredible repeat tragedy. But the story gets even more unbelievable. On October 8, 1949, Rollo Primarda's grandson, who was named after his grandfather, was standing in that exact same spot in the family yard. A storm was brewing, and amazingly, a lightning bolt struck him, too, and just like that, the third generation of the family had been killed in exactly the same way, in exactly the same place. 3 generations of men from the same family, all killed by lightning while standing in the same spot over a 50-year period. The chances of being struck by lightning once in a lifetime are already very small. The chances of 3 related men being struck and killed in the same place over 3 generations are almost impossible to calculate. The Primarda family case was reported in newspapers and later included in books about strange coincidences. 8. Edgar Allan Poe's Richard Parker prediction. In 1838, author Edgar Allan Poe published the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, his only complete novel. In this dark tale, 4 survivors of a shipwreck find themselves starving in a lifeboat. Desperate, they draw lots to decide who will be sacrificed for food. The unlucky victim is a sailor named Richard Parker, who is killed and eaten by his shipmates. This could have been just another of Poe's eerie tales if not for what happened 46 years later. In 1884, a yacht called the Mignonette sank in the South Atlantic. 4 crew members survived and drifted in a small lifeboat for many days with no food or water. 3 of the men decided to kill and eat the 4th member of their crew, a 17-year-old cabin boy named Richard Parker. When the 3 survivors were rescued and returned to England, they were put on trial for murder and sentenced to 6 months in prison. During the trial, the eerie similarity to Poe's story stunned the public, but could not have known this would happen as he died in 1849, 35 years before this incident took place. 9. Edwin Booth and Robert Todd Lincoln. In the winter of 1864 to 1865, something incredible happened at a train station in Jersey City. Robert Todd Lincoln, the oldest son of President Abraham Lincoln, was waiting on a crowded platform when the train started moving. As people pushed forward, Robert fell into the gap between the platform and the moving train. Just in time, someone grabbed Robert's collar and pulled him to safety. This hero was Edwin Booth, a famous actor and supporter of the Union, the side that remained loyal to the U.S. government during the Civil War. Robert knew who the actor was and thanked him, but Edwin didn't know he had just saved the president's son. Edwin only found out later through a friend who worked with Robert. This knowledge would soon take on a tragic significance for Edwin. Just a few months after this rescue, on April 14, 1865, Edwin's younger brother, John Wilkes Booth, shot and killed President Lincoln at Ford's Theater. Think about that for a moment. One brother saved a Lincoln while the other killed a Lincoln. The story gets even stranger. Robert Todd Lincoln was around for 2 more presidential shootings. He was nearby when President Garfield was shot in 1881 and when President McKinley was killed in 1901. This pattern bothered him so much that he later refused to attend presidential events. 10. The Jim twins' parallel lives. In 1979, 2 39-year-old men named Jim met for the first time in Ohio. Jim Lewis and Jim Springer were identical twins, separated at just 4 weeks old and adopted by different families. What makes their story remarkable are the strange coincidences they discovered about their separate lives. Both Jims, without knowing about the other, had named their boys James. Both Jims grew up with dogs. They had named Toy. In school, both were good at math, but had trouble with spelling, and both enjoyed working with wood as their favorite hobby. The coincidences in their adult lives were even more surprising. Both married a woman named Linda, divorced, and later married Betty's. Lewis had named his son James Allan, while Springer had named his son James Allan. Almost identical names with just one letter different. The similarities didn't stop there. Both men smoked the same brand of cigarettes, drank the same beer, drove the same type of car, a Chevrolet, and even vacations at the same beach in Florida. When scientists learned about the Jim twins, they were amazed. While some similarities could be explained by their identical genes, many others, like the names of their wives, children, and pets, seemed beyond explanation. The Jim twins became famous as part of one of the first major studies on twins raised apart. 11. Adams and Jefferson dying on July 4. On July 4, 1826, John Adams, the second President of the United States, and Thomas Jefferson, the third President, both died. Even more remarkably, it was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Both men had helped create the Declaration. Jefferson wrote most of it while Adams was one of its strongest supporters in the Continental Congress. These two founding fathers had once been friends, then became political rivals and later became friends again in their old age through letters. As Adams was dying at his home in Massachusetts, his last words were, "Thomas Jefferson survives," unaware Jefferson had died hours earlier in Virginia. News traveled slowly in 1826, so when many Americans heard about both deaths at the same time, they were surprised by the timing. The coincidence becomes even more surprising when you consider that 5 years later on July 4, 1831, James Monroe, the fifth President of the United States, also died. This meant that 3 of the first 5 American presidents all died on July 4. Did these wild coincidences blow your mind? Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more incredible history stories. Share your favorite coincidence in the comments below. What do you think, fate or just chance? Don't forget to check out our other videos. Thanks for watching, see you next time.